the next characteristics of an underdeveloped economy is it has
Ma'am,
scarcity
problem
of,
of unemployment wasn't done, ma'am.
wasn't done. We discussed the 3 types of unemployment. There is,
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
yes,
Yes,
we
ma'am. Yes,
discussed,
ma'am.
you
Done,
said
ma'am.
you have done this
Yes.
unemployment
Yes,
before
ma'am.
also. Yes,
Yes.
so the problem of unemployment, all 3 types, that is underemployment, disguised unemployment, and proper unemployment, where a person does not have any job. All 3 types of unemployment are present in a underdeveloped economy. Okay, then there is scarcity of capital. Obviously, when the income levels are low, when the production is low, then capital formation is also low, which is very important for economic development of a country, right? Unless and until they have a proper capital formation, they cannot use that capital for future growth of industries, for more production. So, and this capital formation happens from where? It happens from savings. Until and unless you save, you cannot have capital formation in a nation. And savings will happen when you have a proper level of income wherein you can, after you satisfy your wants of basic necessities, you have some income left to save. So when income is only low, there is no saving, so there is no investment in capital. When there is no investment in capital, no capital formation happens, and therefore further production, increase of further production does not happen at a pace which is supposed to happen or at par with the developed economies, right? So capital formation does not happen, and therefore, and all this is a cycle. There is widespread poverty, so there are low levels of income. Low levels of income causes low levels of savings. Low levels of saving causes low level of capital formation, and low level of capital formation causes low production. Okay, so it is all a low production in turn will again go into low levels of income. So it is all a cycle. Okay,
Ma'am, I
now
did not understand.
who did not understand? Ria,
Yes, ma'am.
what did you didn't understand? Scarcity of
Yeah,
capital.
Ria.
Yeah. What did you did not understand, Ria? Tell me, what is scarcity of capital?
Ma'am, I did not understand the last point, ma'am. Very few
Very few
UDCs.
underdeveloped countries save more than 15% of their GDP. See, I told you until unless saving happens, investment in capital will not happen. Okay. Capital formation is directly linked with savings. So, in underdeveloped countries, the saving past is nearly only 15% only. Very few of them can save a little above 15% of their GDP. And until and unless the saving is happening, they cannot reinvest that money into capital. Yes or no? We have done this capital formation.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So the main determinant of capital formation is saving. And these savings, that savings of, yes, Shivam. Yes, Shivam. Shivam, you raised a hand. Can't hear you. Shivam, we can't hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I just came late.
Yes, we have just
Can you tell
started.
me what?
We have just started. We finished unemployment yesterday. Unemployment as a problem or a main feature of underdeveloped economy. So the next we did was scarcity of capital. This is the next topic. This is the next feature which is found in underdeveloped economies. Okay. So because because hardly 15% of GDP is saved, their capital formation is very low. Okay. Is it clear, Rihanna?
Okay, ma'am. Thank
Yes,
you.
Okay,
ma'am.
right. Now, because of all this, there is no capital formation or hardly any capital formation. There is a low level of productivity because this capital which you form, the machinery, the tools that you buy for reinvestment, right? These only will increase the level of productivity. When you don't have capital formation only, your productivity levels are also very low. Okay, and other than that, your labor is also producing low because there are health problems, the education problem, the skill of the labor is not that proper. So labor is also low productive, capital is also low productive, right? Then there are no work incentives given. Work incentives mean if you work efficiently, right? if you work to your maximum, incentives are given in private sectors, yes or no, in form of income or in the form of bonus, whatever, but incentives are given. But these are underdeveloped economy. As such, they have a problem of income. The income levels are low. Plus, for their efficient work, no incentives are also given. So when incentives are not given, the proper push to work harder is not there. Okay. Then lack of institutional infrastructure and low national income. These also, that means infrastructure is also not proper in underdeveloped country. Roads and railways are not proper. All the villages and towns are not connected to each other. So whatever production is happening in villages is not able to reach the towns. Okay. So all these things also constitute to the low levels of productivity. Okay. Clear? Next is technological backwardness. There is low level of income, there are low levels of saving, right? So naturally, there is no money to invest in technology. These underdeveloped countries are using obsolete technology. We had learned that majority of it of the people are involved in agriculture, and that also they are using old technology in that. Okay, because they do not have money to put in the new technology, and since they do not have money to put in the new technology, there is technological backwardness there. So the production, the same amount of uh, land which is used in an underdeveloped country produces less amount than when it is the same amount of land being used by a developed country. Yes, Ved.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, I've seen in some places, like some villages, government gives them money to
Yes.
spend in their farming
Yes.
facilities.
Yes.
But because of illiteracy levels, they tend to disuse the materials
Yes,
that
they tend to, they don't
misuse
know
them.
only because education
Yes, ma'am.
levels are so low in them that they don't understand only how to use the hybrid seeds, how to use the new modern technology, right?
Yes.
They are more labor intensive instead of being capital intensive. Okay.
Yes.
So all these, there is lack of capital, there is lack of technical education. Okay. And the scientific research also, if you see, it is skewed among the nations. It is 95% is confined to the 20 developed countries. The developed country only are technologically better. Yes or no? Because they have the money,
Yes.
they have the know-how to invest in new technology. Rest 5% takes place in other 100 countries. Okay, so that is the level of technological backwardness that they have.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am,
Yes,
then,
Ved.
ma'am, in developed countries, in villages and in farms, how do they have enough literacy level to know how to use the
Because that is
technology?
a social welfare program. They have 100% literacy. So if you see in America, hardly 3% of people are using agriculture as their livelihood. But that 3% which is being used as agriculture is contributing, taking care of all the people of America, right? Producing food for all the people. Only 3% are producing the entire food for entire people of America. And what they can't produce, they import. Okay. But in India, 50%
Okay,
people are
ma'am.
involved in agriculture, right? Yes or no? So that is the difference between
Yes,
the
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
technology that they use. 1 hectare of land, what produces there, won't even be one-fourth what is being produced in a labor-intensive place, right? So they use more of capital-intensive technology, and therefore labor is involved more in secondary and tertiary sectors. But in underdeveloped countries, labor is involved in the primary sector. Okay, and because it is labor-intensive, the productivity is very low. Okay, then the
Okay,
last
ma'am.
point, right? Last point is a result of all these demerits, that is underutilization of resources. There is no capital, there is no technological advancement, there is no money, there is no income. So obviously there is a underutilization of resources, right? It is not that these underdeveloped countries, they do not have the resources. They have plenty of natural and human resources. If you see, when we were seeing, their growth rate is so high That means they have a lot of labor. Yes, the human workforce is too much, and their natural resources are untapped because they do not have the technology to extract those materials. But because of these shortages in their economy, they cannot use it properly, or it is vastly underutilized. Okay. For example, 0.11% of total water resources are utilized in Africa, although it possesses 44% of the total world's water resources. Now imagine 44% of water resources it has, but only 0.11% is utilized. Okay, so that is the difference between an underdeveloped country and a developed country, right? 14% of total water resources of India are utilized. Out of the total water resources we have, only 14% is utilized. And that is why agriculture and industrial sector, they both require heavy water requirement. They both have water requirements, heavy, right? And both of them suffer. The agriculture, it is totally dependent on climate, on the rains, right? And industrial sector also shortages of water supply is too much, water and electricity. That is why the production also suffers in these sectors. Okay, clear underdeveloped economy to all of you? Right, now we'll go ahead with the last one that we are left with, that is developing economy. Right, we have done developed economy, we have done underdeveloped economy. Now we come to developing economies. Now,
Ma'am,
yes, wait.
ma'am, India comes under developing economy or
Let's see.
underdeveloped?
Let's see. Let's see. Okay, we'll discuss that also, whether India is an underdeveloped economy or a developing economy. Okay, let's just see the characteristics first. In between the developed and the developing is the in between the developed and the underdeveloped is the developing economy, right? It has not reached the levels of developed economy, but it is above the underdeveloping economy, and it is increasing, or it is improving every year. Okay, so, and a developing economy is not fully developed, but it is passing through the process of growth and development. Okay, the standard of living is not that high as of a developed economy, but it is better than an underdeveloped economy, and it is rising. Every year it is rising. Okay, the per capita is income is rising. It has not reached a high level, but it is steadily rising. So these characteristics make up a developing economy, right? Like the economies of India, China, Thailand, and Mexico. These have not reached the fully developed economies, but they are improving, they are rising and steadily rising. The process is happening. Okay. Now, what are the main features of a developing economy? First is the per capita income is low as compared to the developed economies, but it is steadily rising. Okay. Rates of saving and investment are also gradually rising. If rates of saving and investment are rising, then the capital formation is also happening. When capital formation happens, the production is also increasing, rising gradually. Okay. Occupational distribution is changing in favor of secondary and tertiary sector. That means the primary sector, when we got independence, it was 70%. 70% of the people of India were involved in agriculture, right? Now it has come down to nearly 50, 40, 50%. So the primary sector is becoming smaller, and movement towards the tertiary and the secondary sector is increasing. Okay. Contribution to national income of primary sector is declining, and the secondary and tertiary sector is rising. Gradual improvement is in standard of living because their income levels are rising, so their standard of living is also improving. Okay, and there is a vast improvement in science and technology. From where we were using more labor intensive, at least in big farms, where people have started having income, new high yielding varieties have come in. There was a green revolution. You have learned it in history and geography about the green revolution. Yes, where the high yielding variety seeds were developed.
Yes,
Irrigation has been bought. Irrigation has bought waters to the deserts also. Okay, so lot of problems are still there, but we are steadily improving. So these developing economies are those economies which have still not reached the standards of developed economies, but their standards are increasing every year. Okay, they are improving, they are rising every year, right? Now, is India an underdeveloped economy? Let's see if India is an underdeveloped economy or is it a developing economy. Okay, so what do you say? Is it an underdeveloped economy or is it a developing economy?
I'm developing.
I'm
Why?
developing.
Why? Why a
Ma'am,
developing and why not an underdeveloped economy?
because
See,
of the increasing economic growth.
बोलते
See,
क्यों
I
नहीं?
have given you the basic thing. We have mass poverty. We do have still 30% of our population lives below the poverty line. There is widespread unemployment of all types. Okay, all the three types. Agriculture is still a main occupation, and it is not still today capital intensive. It is labor intensive only. Natural resources remain unexplored. We have still not discovered or not fully utilized the amount of natural resources that we have, right? These all point to a underdeveloped economy. Yes or no? Yes.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
so why do you say it is a developing economy?
And because
That,
of the significant change.
is that I have written. You think. You tell me, why do you say that it is a developing economy?
Ma'am, because of all of because all of these things are now slowly fleeing away from India, and there's more increase in economic growth,
Yes, there
and the
have been.
government is working against this.
Yes, there have been, right? So that is what, because in the last 70 years that we have been independent, we have made significant changes in lot many places. Like right from going to moon to Mission Mangalyaan, right? Going to Mars. We have done all of it. There are advancement, although we have not reached countries like US and Canada. We have not reached their level. That's too far for us. But still, we have made a lot of significant changes, right? Now, what are these changes? Let's study about them. So, this is a question, a very important question. Is India an underdeveloped economy or a developing economy? Give reasons for your answer. Okay. So, let's see whether India is a developing economy or not. The per capita income has increased from 7,513 per annum. That was in 1950-51. It has increased to 77,803. Okay, so this is a significant increase. Yes, rate of capital formation has also increased from 10.9% of GDP. That means the annual product, what we used to produce every year, that is the gross domestic product or our national income. The capital formation rate was only 10.9% of that GDP. From there, we have now come to 32.9% of GDP, right? So it is a significant increase. That means our rate of saving has increased a lot. Our rate of capital formation has increased a lot. Okay. Percentage share of primary sector in national income has been declining, and that of secondary sector has been increasing. Now you see the table here. In 1950-51, 61 percentage was contributed of the national income was contributed from the primary sector. Secondary sector only contributed 14.5 and tertiary 24%. Now in 1990, the primary sector contribution came down to, yes, Ria. So see, from 50-51 in 1991, your primary sector contribution reduced to 33%. So it nearly halved by 90. And in 2014-15, it came down to 18%. So your primary sector share is reducing. And see the secondary and the tertiary sector. Tertiary from 24, it increased to 40 in 91 and to 52% in 2014-15. So the primary sector contribution of the primary sector is decreasing in national income, and your tertiary and primary sector is increasing, right? Then what else?
Tertiary and secondary, ma'am.
Tertiary and secondary is increasing and primary is decreasing. Okay. Then health and education facilities that the government is providing to us. Yes, that has been expanding. Now till 14 years of age, it is compulsory education. Till 14 years of age, government has been doing and providing lot of free education facilities. Okay. Large number of basic and capital industries have been set up. Iron and steel, heavy engineering, petroleum, these have been developed on a large scale. These are the public industries, public sector industries which require heavy investment. So we have a mixed economy. So government has taken control of all these and those investments have been done through the government. Okay. We are almost self-sufficient in consumer goods. That means we do not require to import consumer goods now. Okay, we are almost self-sufficient. We have a large-scale development in banking and finance sector. In when we were independent, when we just got independence, there were hardly any banks, and those banks also were in the large cities and towns. Now, at least we have. Still, there are places, there are remote areas where we do not have banking facilities, but at least within the kilometer range of 5 kilometers or 6 kilometers, they can find a bank. Okay, so banking facilities have reached till these places, till these remote areas. And the credit facilities, that is the bank which gives loans, that has also reached to these areas through different financial institutes and banks. Okay, social services like the health, sanitation, education, all this has expanded. Okay, death rate has come down from 40.8 per thousand in 50-51 to only 6.5 people per thousand in 2015. So imagine, from 40 people dying every 1,000 person, it is now only hardly 6 people die in every 1,000. Okay, life expectancy, that is minimum average life a person lives up to, has increased from 32 years to 68 years. Okay, literacy rates have gone down from 17% to 73%. That is a good increase. Okay, so there is a element of dynamism. Dynamism means there is an element of rapid change in our economy, right? We are making strides, we are increasing in every sector, and we are developing more and more with every year. Our production is increasing, our GDP is increasing, right? Our capital formation every year is increasing. So we are moving towards the developed economies. Although we have not reached that phase, but still we have achieved a lot. Okay, and that is why we are known as a developing economy. Although we have many demerits of an underdeveloped economy, but we are working on it. Okay, clear? Clear to all of you? Now, a distinction between developed and underdeveloped economy. We have already done this. Developed economy, their levels of per capita income is very high. Underdeveloped, it is very low. Occupation, the industrial and the service sectors, they dominate in the developed countries, whereas the underdeveloped countries, agriculture is predominant. Technology, developed countries have high levels, they are capital intensive, and it is very advanced. But in underdeveloped, it is outdated. They are still using the primitive tools. Productivity of labor is very high, whereas in underdeveloped, it is very low because it is not efficient use. Okay, utilization of resources is also same. Developed countries properly, efficiently use their available resources, whereas in underdeveloped countries, all the availability of resources is there, but it is either untapped or underutilized. Okay, population growth, rate of population growth is very low in underdeveloped countries, whereas in in developed countries it is very low, but in underdeveloped countries it is very high. Okay, distribution, the gap. Yes, Ved. Yes, Ved.
Ma'am, why is the population in underdeveloped countries more than like the developed countries?
Because what is happening is the underdeveloped countries, they are also experiencing technological advancement. Yes. So medicines, the new medicines are also come in. The medical advancement is there. So this medical advancement has reduced their death rate. But because of religious things, orthodox, or because of poverty, or because of unemployment, right? Their thinking has not. So the growth rate is still. I told you, in India, for example, people still believe that more the hands, more they can work on the farm. So they do not use the birth control measures, right? Second thing is
Okay.
religious orthodoxy, that a son is important. So all these regions, the death rate has come down, but the birth rate has not been controlled. Both
So
have
because
to
of the
be controlled.
illiteracy.
Yes, illiteracy, poverty, and religious orthodoxy, all three. Okay.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Okay,
Russia
thank you.
has which type of economy?
Yes,
Ma'am, Russia has a which type of economy?
Russia has a socialist economy. Russia is the biggest example of socialist economy and failure of socialist economy also. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Right. Distribution of income, I've told you there is a wide gap. The gap in the developed countries is very less. But in underdeveloped countries, the gap is too much. 20% of the richest people contribute to 40% of the 46% of national income. We have done this. Yes. The rest, 80% are contributing hardly 30%. Okay. Then employment. Uh, there is unemployment in developed countries. It is not that it is totally free of unemployment, but there is unemployment, but a very little low levels of unemployment. Wherein in underdeveloped countries, the unemployment levels are too much. Okay, the problem is very chronic or very vast. Now there are certain problems in an economy. You have learned about these problems. I keep telling you what to produce, how much to produce, for whom to produce. These are the basic questions of an economy, the central problems that we say. Okay, Ki, how much should we produce? What should we produce? Whether we should produce more butter or whether we should produce more of guns, right? For whom to produce? That is, which section of the society? For whom should we produce? So these are basic, these are considered as central problems of an economy. What, how much, and for whom, right? So how are solutions to these central problems identified or given in various types of economy? Okay, so all three types of economy, we are going to learn how we find solutions to these basic central problems. So the first we are going to take is the market economy or the capitalist economy. Okay, so the main feature of the market economy is what? What is the main feature of market economy? What is the main feature of market economy?
Ma'am, per capital.
No. What is the main feature of market economy? What is
Ma'am,
it
goods.
based on?
Ma'am, goods.
No. What is it based on? Profit.
Profit, ma'am.
Yes. Profit is the main motive in the market economy. The market economy, the basic price, it is based on price mechanism. The demand for which commodity is more, people produce that more. Yes, because it is a free entry and free exit. That means you people are not studying at all. If you do not study, you will keep forgetting. Every day we have a class. Every day we do hardly 2 pages. And I have posted the entire chapter to you. So you can go through those 2 pages every day or not. Yes? Otherwise, you will keep getting confused. Understood? So today,
Ma'am, I
go
forgot,
back.
ma'am.
Yes, so today go back and learn about these economies again. Okay? So the basic thing, the motive in a capitalist economy is profit, right? And it is based on demand. Which sector has the most demand? Producers produce that only. So in a market economy, what to produce and in what quantity to produce, it is decided by the prices. The prices for which goods are high, where they can be maximum profit, it is on those side the decision of distributing the resources is. Okay, for example, if a particular type of car is in more demand, So the resources are diverted towards that particular, because they are earning more profit in that. Okay. So producers will produce those goods and services whose prices are high, thereby generating more profits. Okay. And decrease in demand of that particular good will bring down the prices. So it all depends on the demand for the good. Whatever is the demand in the economy, because it is a free entry and exit for both producers and consumers. Consumers have a freedom to choose whatever they want, right? To consume to how much soever they want. There is no limit. So whatever the demand is, depending on that, the economy decides what to produce and in what quantity to produce. Okay. How to produce? How to produce relates to the techniques of production. And because it is a market economy, it is a capitalist economy, right? They want to increase their profit, and the profit increase happens when it is capital intensive labor, depending on which will reduce their cost of production. Okay, whether to use capital intensive or to use labor intensive technique. What reduces their cost of production will decide what kind of technique they have to use. Is it clear? If the cost of production
Yes.
is less when they use labor, they will use labor intensive. If they see no, better technology will increase their production, thereby increasing their profit, they will use capital intensive technique. Okay. So how to produce is also answered. For whom to produce? For whom will they produce? For whom will they produce?
From the customers that buy. Ma'am,
Yes,
the
to the
customers.
consumers. So seeing the demand of the consumer, they will produce for them only. So basically, price and profit. This is what drives the question and answers these questions in a market economy or the capitalist economy. Capitalist economy is also known as the market economy. Okay. So what to produce, how to produce, how much to produce, what quantity to produce, all of these are answered by demand and supply and the price mechanism. Okay. Yes.
Ma'am, if India is like selling some goods to the other country, then they are the consumers, right?
Yes. Then for those goods, the other country becomes the consumer. So India also exports those things only which they see ki, yeah, in that particular market we have a demand for this commodity. So we'll export to that country only. Yes. And that country will also buy from us when they have a demand of that quality, and from us they get at a cheaper rate. Right. That is where the trade connections and the trade treaties that the different governments sign, that comes into play. Okay. Why do we buy Chinese goods? Because they are cheaper for us. Yes. Okay. That is why. So from
Yes, ma'am.
wherever the country finds it, the same type of things we can get cheaper from some other place, we go for that place. That is how import export takes place. Okay. Now the same questions, right? So these same
Okay.
problems, how are they tackled in a socialist economy? What to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce. Now, what is a socialist economy? Tell me. What is a socialist economy? The decisions are taken
Ma'am,
by whom?
ma'am, the decisions are taken by the government.
Yes, it is the government which decides. And how does the government decide?
Uh,
Seeing what?
ma'am, ma'am, it sees the demand and then decides.
No, it sees the social welfare of the people. In a
Ma'am, so the
socialist
demand would.
economy, no, here the demand does not play any role. Here it is the social development of the people, the social welfare of the people which is taken into account. Okay, you have forgotten the difference between capitalist and socialist. It is the
Ma'am,
government.
is
So
there any role of profit in this?
the role of profit is there, not there in socialist economy. It is not there because it is the government which is deciding. So government is not deciding. An ideal socialist economy is that where the government is not